slide we can see different common diseases which occurs in human, and the pathogens are the bacterial disease, viral disease, fungal disease, protozoan disease, helminthic disease. So, these are the list of some common diseases occurs through bacteria, that is dysentery, plague, diphtheria, cholera, typhoid, pneumonia, etc. Then viral disease, we can see here different types of diseases which occurs through virus. Then fungal disease, athlete foot, candidiasis, ringworms. Then protozoal disease like malaria, amoebiasis, sleeping sickness, kala jar, etc. Helminthic disease like ascariasis, filariasis. So, these are common human diseases and for whose the pathogens are responsible. These are the list of bacterial diseases you can see here. Here we can see in this slide different types of cold, flu and pneumonia which affect our respiratory system. Now, here it is given the comparative study. See, cold and cough, which is the symptom is will take time to develop, and flu, the symptoms hit fast and often include. So, here the time will take, but in flu it will occurs fast. Then some of the important symptoms are extreme fatigue with body pain, muscle pain, then nausea, appetite loss, headache, high fever with chill and sweating, then stuffy nose and coughing. So, these are different and severe than the cold, common cold. Now, pneumonia. In pneumonia also our respiratory system get affected, and symptoms are extreme fatigueness, then trouble breathing and chest pain, then coughing up mucus, high fever with chill, sweating, disorientation. In this slide we will study about the disorders of respiratory system. We can see that there are different causes of respiratory system disorders. Some are infectious and some are non-infectious. Among the infectious one, different types of bacteria and viruses which are responsible for our disorders occurring in respiratory system, whereas non-infectious one like lung cancer, acute respiratory distress syndrome, then pulmonary edema, these are non-infectious one. But the infectious one occurs through different types of bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is responsible for pneumonia. Then for influenza, Haemophilus influenzae. Then you can see here the viruses. So, these all infectious agents which will affect our respiratory system. Now, common cold, disease or disorder occurs in respiratory system, and which is occurs through or spread through the virus. That virus is known as rhinovirus. Now, this rhinovirus is responsible for common cold. That is why it is the viral infection and which occurs in the upper respiratory tract. It usually lasts approximately 7 days, and it is associated with a number of virus, for example rhinovirus, then parainfluenza virus, etc. Now, season of the year, age and prior exposure are important factors in the type of virus causing the infection and the type of symptoms they may occur. Generally, the common symptoms are running nose, then anxiety, light fever, etc. In this slide, we will study about the disorder occurs in our respiratory tract, that is pneumonia. Here, the pneumonia is caused by the causative organism or the pathogen known as Streptococcus pneumoniae. It is group B, group A streptococci which are responsible for this. Other than that, Mycoplasma pneumoniae, Chlamydia pneumoniae, Chlamydia trachomatis, then these are responsible for different types of pneumonia occurs in adolescent, infants, etc. Now, there are different types of pneumonia depending upon which part they are affecting. inflammation of upper part lobe of this lungs, we can see in this figure. Now the middle lobe of the lung is infected here, and here the lower lobe of lung is infected. So this is different types of pneumonia depending upon that which part is affected. Now the common symptoms are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, then shortness of breath with normal activities, feeling suddenly worse cold after just like cold or flu, then high fever, cough with phlegm and worse or does not improve, shaking or chills, then chest pain when during the breathing or coughing. So these are common symptoms which occurs in pneumonia. In this slide we will see the causative organism of the disease typhoid. Now we all know that the causative organism of this typhoid is the bacteria, and name is Salmonella typhi, which belongs to the family Enterobacteriaceae. This is gram negative bacilli group of bacteria and best grows at the temperature 37 degrees centigrade. Now its transmission, how it is spreading. This is the figure of this Salmonella typhi, and this is transmitted through the fecal oral route, close contact with patient or carriers, then contaminated water and food, flies and cockroaches. So these are some methods by which this disease is transmitting from infected person to healthy person. Now in this slide we will see the symptoms of typhoid fever. How will we identify this fever is of typhoid or not? Now there are some common symptoms like high fever, headache, chest congestion, poor appetite, that is loss of appetite, then aches and pains in different parts of the body, then chills and dry cough, then weakness, diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain, rashes on the body. So these are some common features or common symptoms which occurs in typhoid fever. And the spreading occurs through the contaminated food and drink, then from physio-oral route, then carrier, different types of carrier also, like then the main affective part is the digestive system, here we can see here, and in this way the typhoid spread from one person to other. This slide is showing the diagnosis of this enteric typhoid fever, and here by urine culture, blood culture, then the most accurate test that is known as Vidal test, which occurs in they give the diagnosis of this typhoid fever. Now the clinical features are here, it is given for what are the symptoms during this first week, then second week, third week we can see here, then fourth week. So these are some common symptoms which arise during the typhoid fever. Now there are some vaccines for typhoid prevention. Are two types of vaccines are available, oral and injectable. Oral, which is taken through mouth, and injectable through injections. Oral, a live oral vaccine that is known as Typhoral is a stable mutant of Salmonella typhi strain. Then one capsule given orally and before food with a glass of water or milk on first, third and fifth day, and the dose is different dose. No antibiotics should be taken during the period of administration of vaccine. So by vaccination or oral capsules we can prevent us from typhoid. In this slide we can see that there are different types of viruses which are responsible for dengue and chikungunya. The viruses and the vectors are these mosquitoes. Here chikungunya virus, this is the figure of chikungunya virus. Two changes to the structure of E1 makes the virus more likely to enter mosquito cells and replicate after the insect has fed on the blood of an infected person. So here the carrier is, the vector is the mosquito, This dengue have the following the symptoms, that is red spots on or patches on the skin, loss of appetite, restlessness, joint pain, bleeding from gums or nose, pain behind eyes, and high fever, headache, nausea and vomiting. So these are some common symptoms which occurs during the dengue attack, dengue fever. Now in chikungunya, the Zika virus is there, the pathogen, and here also these are some common symptoms which occurs during the chikungunya, like headache, high fever, then muscle pain, red spots or patches on the skin, then severe joint pain mainly in the arms and legs. So this is the characteristics of this dengue and chikungunya symptoms. Then joint and muscle pain, back pain, mild fever, red eyes with headache, then red and white patches, skin rash. So these are some common symptoms which occurs during the chikungunya fever. In this slide also the common symptoms are visible which occurs during the chikungunya, like fever, joint pain, muscle pain, nausea, headache, rashes. All these are the common symptoms of chikungunya. In this slide, dengue virus is there. The dengue virus, arbovirus, which is responsible for dengue fever. This dengue virus is spreaded by this arthropoda, that is mosquito Aedes, female Aedes mosquito. This pathogen causes the dengue fever and can lead to dengue shock syndrome, that is known as DSS. This has 4 different serotypes. The first reported epidemics in 1780 in Asia, Africa and North America. Now dengue fever spread. In this slide we can see how the dengue fever is spreaded. This is the mosquito Aedes, female Aedes mosquito, which is taking blood from the patient. This patient is the infected person, and from here the virus will be transmitted in saliva and it will inject in the human's body. Now in human's body this virus will multiply and infection occurs. It will attack WBC and lymphatic tissue, and in this way it will increase its number, and again when the mosquito will bite, then the viruses will come in the mosquito's mouth and that will again transmit it to other person. In this way the dengue fever is spreaded. Now some of the disease occurs through the fungi also, and one of that important disorder or the disease is known as ringworm, which occurs through the fungi. There are 3 different types of fungi which are responsible for such infection are Trichophyton, Microsporum and Epidermatophyton. These fungi may live for an extended period as spores in soil. Humans and animals can contract ringworm after direct contact with the soil. The infection can also spread through contact with infected animals or humans. The infection is commonly spread among children and by sharing items that may not be clean. Then there are some different names for this ringworm, like when the this body ringworm occurs in the body, then it is known as Tinea corporis, and some are the common symptoms for that: itchy, red circular or irregular rashes occurs on the skin and like ring like structure. It can be flat or slightly raised, then mainly on the trunk of the face. Now transmission occurs from human, animal, objects or soil or contaminated cloth or utensils. Now predisposing factors: humid or crowded conditions, excessive sweating, sports such as wrestling or football, wearing tight clothing, all these things will responsible for spreading of this ringworm. Then immunocompromised, widely disseminated and may invade the dermis, that is the skin, and difficult in treatment, that means it is spreaded, and then diagnosis occurs by observing that, and treatment are the topical or oral tablets, like some of the tablets are azoles or terbinafine, etc. So ringworm occurs through the fungal species, and which can be transmitted from person to person, or from animals to person, or from the utensils which are contaminated. So hygiene should be maintained. This slide is showing the disease that is known as Kala Jar, and this Kala Jar is the disease which whose pathogen is Leishmania donovani, and this is also known as leishmaniasis. It is disease caused by the protozoa, and that protozoa is known as Leishmania, which is transmitted by the bite of sandfly. So here vector is the sandfly. This disease is also known as Kala Jar or black fever or sandfly disease or dum-dum fever. Now human infection is caused by about 21 of 30 species that infect mammals. These include Leishmania donovani complex with 3 species. 3 species are Leishmania donovani, Leishmania infantum, and Leishmania chagesi. So these 3 species which are responsible for this Kala Jar or this leishmaniasis. Now what is Kala Jar? It is caused by the protozoa parasite, that is Leishmania, which is indigenous disease. In India the main parasite is Leishmania donovani, and these two are not found in India, that is infantum and chagesi. The parasite primarily infect reticuloendothelial system. Now the common symptoms are recurrent fever, then loss of appetite, weakness, spleen enlargement, and anemia. So these are some common symptoms which occurs in Kala Jar. Now transmission, the sandfly, the species of that sandfly is Philotomus argentypes, is the vector for this Kala Jar in India. In India, Kala Jar has a unique epidemiological feature of being anthropogenic. Then the female sandflies pick up parasite while feeding on infected human host. So here also the sandfly, female sandfly is responsible for this disease, for spreading for this disease. Now development and multiplication in the gut of sandfly and move to mouth parts, and then it will be the parasite undergoes morphological changes to become flagellate. Healthy human hosts get infection when an infective sandfly vector binds them, and after biting them the normal person will get affected. Now the next disease is malaria, and we all know that malaria occurs by the pathogen that is known as protozoa, which belongs to protozoa, and the species are Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium ovale. So these are some species of protozoa, that Plasmodium, which is responsible for this malaria. This is the figure of this blood vessels, and inside that this Plasmodium is present, this one. Now Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium falciparum are more common species which is responsible for malarial disease. Plasmodium is a wide distribution in many tropical as well as subtropical countries of the world, and this is the fly, that mosquito, the female Anopheles mosquito is the vector for this malarial parasite, which spread the disease from the infected person to the healthy person. And so the life cycle of malarial parasite completes within 2 hosts, that is mosquito as well as human. This figure is showing the life cycle of Plasmodium, that is malarial parasite. We can see here how this mature infective stage, that is sporozoite, escape from the intestine and migrate in the salivary gland of this mosquito, and during the bite it will inject in the sporozoites will injected inside the hand or the blood of the human being. Now this parasite or this sporozoites will reach to the liver. now through the blood. Then inside the liver, the parasite will reproduce asexually and then burst out from the cell and release into the blood. In the blood, it will now attack the RBC or the red blood cells, and the pathogen will enter inside this RBC and grow there. Then they will release the toxin known as hemotoxin, and which results in the high fever, recurring fever with chill. This released parasites infect the new blood cells also. Now the sexual stages of this parasite will occur. Now the gametocyte will develop in RBC of this human being. Now these two male and female gamete are produced inside the RBC. Now when the mosquito will bite the infected person here, they will be taken up by the female Anopheles mosquito, and these gametocytes will come in the this mosquito's body, where it will undergo the process of fertilization and development will take place inside the mosquito's intestine. Inside the intestine, it will form the sporozoites, and these sporozoites will again escape from, again this will come in the salivary gland of this mosquito, and this mosquito, when it will bite other healthy person, this will be injected inside the body of that person. In this way the life cycle will complete. So there are two hosts, that is mosquito host and the human host. Inside the human host, the gametocyte or the gametes will formation will take place, and the fusion will take place inside the mosquito's body. So in this way we can see this is the life cycle of malarial parasite. So the two, because it requires two hosts, so if any one host is eradicated, then the malarial parasite will not be survivable. So we should prevent the spreading of flourishing of this mosquito, and in this way we can only we can control this disease, that is malaria. Now these are some symptoms which occurs in malaria. To diagnose them, malaria begins as an influenza like illness with attack of fever 8 days or more after the bite of an infected mosquito. That means the incubation period is about 8 days, that is 1 week, 7 to 8 days. Now cycles of fever, shaking, chills, drenching sweats, headaches may develop. The frequency of severity of fever depends on the malarial species involved, but it usually lasts 2 to 3 days. So it is recurring fever. Now the attack of fever coincide with waves of parasite multiplication and the destruction of the red blood cells. They emit or they release the toxin, that is hemojoin, and which is responsible for the fever. Now long lasting infections often result in enlargement of liver and spleen. So when it is not controlled quickly, then the liver and spleen becomes large. It is the most severe type of malaria. If untreated, may progress to shock, kidney and liver failure, or coma, even death also. So here we can see the symptoms of malaria, that is headache, then fever, then in muscles fatigueness, pain, then back pain, skin is affected, then chill, sweating, then respiratory dry cough, then in spleen enlargement will take place, then stomach nausea, vomiting tendency. So all these are the symptoms of malaria. In this slide we will study about the disease that is known as ascariasis. This ascariasis, the pathogen is Ascaris lumbricoides. Here the females are longer than males. The method of transmission is by ingesting Ascaris eggs, that is through the contaminated water and food. The important signs and symptoms are low grade fever, cough and bloody sputum, wheezing, abdominal cramping and discomfort, nausea, then vomiting, diarrhea. Then these are some important symptoms which occurs during this disease. Now treatments by different types of tablets. Infections with Ascaris lumbricoides are easily treated with a number of antihelminthic drugs, and they are given to the patient, and that can be cured. So we should prevent us from the contaminated food and water. Trypanosoma. This is one of the disease which occurs through the pathogen, and that is known as African trypanosomiasis or American trypanosomiasis. So these are two types, and this is commonly known as sleeping sickness, and the pathogens are trypanosoma, different species of trypanosoma, and they are affecting the person's human body. The next disease is filariasis or elephantiasis. In this disease, the causative organism is this worm. That worm's name is Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malai or Wuchereria timori. So these are some species which are responsible for the filariasis or elephantiasis. Now, mode of transmission occurs through the mosquito bites, and the female Culex mosquito is there, Aedes also. So these species, female mosquitoes, are responsible for the transmission of this filaria worms. Then signs and symptoms during this, when the person is affected from this disease, then the particular arms, or the leg, genital organs becomes enlarged, and they will they will acquire the shape of elephantoid size. The kidney may damage. That's why this is also known as elephantiasis, and this is also known as filaria worms. These are some common symptoms which occurs during the filaria, when the person is suffering from filaria. They are of three types of symptoms, that is asymptomatic, when the symptom is not present but the patient is positive, that means having this filarial parasite in his body, his or her body. Now acute, when the attacks of filarial fever occurs, and chronic, that means swelling of different parts of the body. Now, during asymptomatic condition, patients have hidden damage to the lymphatic system and kidneys, which is not appearing from outside. Now, attacks of filarial fever, pain and inflammation of lymph nodes, ducts, often accompanied by fever, nausea, vomiting, will increase with severity of chronic disease, and that's why it is known as acute condition. Now, during the chronic, the elephantiasis and hydrococcal, that is swelling of the scrotum in males, as well as enlargement of breast in females, then enlargement of the mostly the lower limbs. So all these are symptoms of this lymphatic filariasis. In this slide we can see different types of prevention and control method for the diseases which are occurring through different types of vectors. So the vectors like mosquito and other vectors can be controlled by following methods, that is clinical control of the mosquito, biological control by using different types of bacteria, then Bacillus thuringiensis, etc. Then environmental control, that is by drainage and the sewage system, making them efficient to eliminate the breeding place of mosquito. Then reduction of non-vector contact by use of mosquito nets, house screens, etc. So all these methods to control the mosquito, because we know that mosquitoes are responsible for various types of disease, protozoal disease, bacterial disease, etc. Now the chemotherapeutic control, which is based upon the mass or selective treatment of the cases by administering DS or use of DEC, medicated salt, in the population exposed to filarial infections, so that we can prevent filaria as well.